All right. Hello, health heads. Welcome and thank you for checking into this dose of the Healthcare Uprising. I'm your producer in the back, Jeremy Carr, here with your host in the front row, Heather Pierce. So, what's on our agenda for today, Heather?
This is a fun one. This is maybe one of Jeremy's favorites.
Oh,
I don't know, but we are meeting with today Katherine Romero. She is a PhD candidate in clinical psychology. She is a somatic breathwork and Reiki practitioner as well. And the reason we've got Katherine coming on today to talk with us is because she is going about getting this PhD in clinical psychology and how she intends to treat her patients in a different way. So, mental health and kind of mainstream mental health doesn't work for everybody. And she really has this kind of holistic approach, the somatic breath work, the Reiki, to combine that with the clinical side of psychology to support her patients differently. And so she's taking a new approach. And so this is the epitome of what we try to talk about here on the Uprising. This is a new and innovative way to deliver mental health therapy and support. So
yeah, you talked me into it. It's one of my favorites already, just from that. So, without further ado, let's hear our conversation with Katherine Romero, the Reiki and breathing specialist.
hi, and welcome to the Healthcare Uprising podcast. Today we've got Katherine Romero. She is a PhD candidate in clinical psychology, a somatic breathwork, and Reiki practitioner. Thank you so much for joining us today, Katherine. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Heather. Thanks, Jeremy. I'm so excited. I'm so excited for this discussion. I think it's going to be really juicy.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
one's going to be fun.
Ooh, juicy. I like that. And
We're on our breath work arc right now, so this is a fun one. Yeah.
we are, in full disclosure, Katherine and I know each other. We serve on a board for a local group here in Flagstaff called the She Wolf Project. We howl.
It sounds like a conservancy or something.
No, well, it's
Conserving sisterhood, perhaps?
conserving
There you
sisterhood.
go.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, yeah. We just actually finalized our mission yesterday, so I'll have to make sure that we link out to the She Wolf socials and maybe at in the show notes for this one to get us a little exposure. But yeah, so Katherine and I know each other. So another friend of the show because you're a friend of mine.
Maybe some
Yeah,
howling
work
exercises
out.
at the end.
Ooh, we could totally howl
All
without
right.
abandon.
Let's do that at the end.
Yeah, Jeremy's into this. He's like, let's do that. So, with that, most creative opening of a show ever, Katherine. Let's start with your story. So, you are a PhD candidate in clinical psychology. You did not come to this in the most traditional sense. You've got an interesting background, a lot of other things. Like, tell us the story. How did you get here?
Yeah, you're so right about that. I did not come about this in any traditional way. And going forward will not be in any traditional way either. So I've had a whole 20 plus year career in business, in digital marketing specifically. And I always thought I would be a therapist. And when I was doing my undergrad, I did an internship, and I don't know, I feel like on some level the internship broke me in terms of it was at a community mental health center, and it just really revealed to me how broken the system is and how harmful it can be for so many people. So I ran the complete other direction for 20 plus years into business. And then somewhere along the pandemic, with that forced kind of slow down, the like quiet, the isolation, the calling to get back into therapy got really, really loud. And it was also really inconvenient because I have a mortgage, I'm in my 40s, I have kids. Like, going back to grad school is I run a digital marketing agency. Like, I had all these reasons for not doing it. And once I let go of all those reasons and did it, yeah, the rest is history. Went in full blast.
Wow. So, what is your undergrad in then?
Psychology.
It is psychology. And so you
Yeah.
got your undergrad, then you got into marketing,
Yeah, I
established
stayed at
your,
my university an extra year. So
oh,
I did the
okay.
5 year degree
Yep.
undergrad because I was too far in to change my major, but also
Hmm.
like not ready to go out in the real world if I wasn't going to be a therapist, which is what I thought I was going to be since like age of 13. Yeah, so
Wow.
I stayed around, took some business classes, fell in love with digital marketing, and
Uh-huh.
then yeah, followed that path for quite a long time.
So, and then you came back around. So, like life kind of coming a bit full circle for you with like a huge detour, and
Yeah.
then coming back into this clinical therapy kind of therapist kind of profession. So then you went and got your master's, I assume.
Yeah, so it was like a bachelor's to PhD program, or it is
Hmm.
still in it. So you get a master's along the way. It's a non-conferring degree, which means you can't get licensed with it or anything like that.
Hmm.
But it's a step on the way to the PhD.
Okay. And when did you start that? Was that right? Was that when around COVID when you went into that program?
Yeah. Yeah, it was in COVID. It was 2022 when I started the program. It was
Okay.
Thanksgiving morning, 2021, when I was like, okay, let me just see what this grad school thing could look like. I don't even know if there's a program out there for me. I don't even know what the costs are these days. If anything, it wouldn't be till next fall when they admit students. And so I'm doing Google searches on Thanksgiving morning. I come across the program that I'm in. It hits this like deep level of resonance with me. It was like one of those light bulb moments and like goosebumps and the full, just deep resonance. I was like, well, let me submit the contact form. I was interviewing with the department chair a couple days before Christmas. A couple days after Christmas, I got the thumbs up that I was in, and then I was starting classes in January. So it just moved so quickly once I decided and kind of committed.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
That's
pretty cool.
that's universe. Like,
That's how you know you're on the right track.
yeah.
It all
Right,
falls
yeah.
together.
And I think
Yeah.
if it had happened in any different way, I would have talked myself out of it. And
Mm.
right, I had all these reasons. I was building an agency. We were successful. All these reasons not to do it.
So, okay, so you get into the program, and so funny on the show, it's like pre-COVID, post, but it's just in our lives. Like, was it before COVID? Oh my God, COVID
Right.
like screwed me up. I don't even know what year it is anymore.
I
Like
talk
Oh, that's
about
the
the
truth.
before times
the
a
before
lot.
times, yeah. So
Yeah.
The olden
it,
days.
yeah, the olden days, yeah. The PC and AC,
Yeah,
right?
BC and AC
Yeah.
is now before COVID and after
After
COVID.
COVID, yeah. So it's kind of funny because so many people that come on the uprising are sitting in this chair behind this microphone because of COVID.
I would not have started podcasting if it wasn't for COVID. I was a tour guide.
Yeah.
So the
I'd still be a tour guide.
it's the good there's good things, right? And so you went down this path. Your life kind of comes back full circle, back to this kind of space that you were interested in originally. But my question though too is that were you doing the somatic breath work and or the Reiki at this time as well, or did that kind of come in around the same time? Like what was
Yeah,
that
I think
situation?
The Reiki was in fall 2021.
Okay.
And so it was around the same time where I was like, well, maybe this grad school thing could be for me. Let me
Hmm.
just see what it looks like, right? So they were around the same time. And then the breathwork training and certification came in 2023, I think is what it was. So it came after I
Okay.
started the degree.
And fun fact, we just did an interview with Ryan and Shelby from Unearth Your Soul.
Love them.
And Ryan and you were in the same program together?
Yeah, we went through somatic breathwork training through the same group. We weren't in the same like cohort, but we went through the same group. And so we both have that somatic background. As you know, he's gone and done other things and created his own like
Right.
breathwork modality. Yeah, but we both have roots in the somatic side of it.
Yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, super exciting. I love that we have you and we have our conversation with them. So there's a little bit of crossover there.
Yeah.
Um, so okay, with that. So we got the foundation. You got clinical psychology going on. You're doing Reiki. You're doing somatic breath work. So we're gonna like tackle this one by one, I think. Or maybe not. This
Yeah,
conversation
let's
is
see how
gonna
it
zigzag
unfolds.
everywhere. Jeremy's gonna throw some surprises in. So
All right.
so I think you said you started with Reiki earlier. That was kind of your first kind of foray into the space outside of your desire to be in the
Yeah.
clinical psychology. So like how did that come to be? Like and can you talk about what Reiki is too? I mean, I think a lot of people don't understand it. What is
Yeah.
its purpose and
Reiki is one modality of energy healing. So basically, you can tap into somebody's energy field. and it sounds super woo woo. I hate that term, but it sounds super woo woo to tap into somebody's energy field, right? But there's actually some science behind it. More modern science is coming up and kind of catching up with what ancient wisdom has known forever, right? But now
Mm-hmm.
energy fields are like a measurable empirical thing, so that pleases Western science. But it's a Japanese modality that I think started taking momentum in the US in like the 50s, somewhere around the 1950s. I think it started
That
in the
far
Bay
back.
Area.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been around in Japan for I don't know how
Yeah.
long. But you know, Westerners are slower to adopt so many things. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
around the 1950s, and it's kind of spread from there. Don't quote me on that. I don't know that exactly. Um, but so it's a healing modality where you tap into somebody's energy field. We have like 7 layers to our energy fields, and they emanate out from us, right? So we have like auras is a commonly known one, right? And we can have weaknesses or vulnerabilities in any one of these energy fields or energy layers. And they can be different depending where on the body that energy field is experiencing that weakness or that vulnerability. So people get attuned to Reiki, to the flow of the energy healing. So I'm attuned at level 2, which means I can perform it. I just can't um, like teach other people how to do Reiki, right? That's a whole different level. So level
Okay.
2, I can do Reiki sessions on other people. I can also do it on myself. And cool fun fact, a little bit of a side note, is Reiki isn't only for people. You can do it on pets. You can do it on plants. You can do it on,
Plants?
yeah,
Oh.
Well, everything's got an energy field, right?
everything has an energy field. You can even do it on like buildings and houses and things like that. So it's pretty cool. And you don't have to be like face to face with the person. You can do it a remote healing or a virtual healing. So anyway, I've always been interested in more like the healing arts, the more alternative ways to heal. And so I didn't set out directly to be a Reiki master. It was the person that sorry, no, to be a Reiki healer. I'm not a Reiki master. There's a big difference
Not
between
yet.
them.
Getting there.
Not yet, yeah, right. But the person I did my training with, Kat Fowler, she's amazing. It was one of her requirements to become an Akashic Records reader, which is a whole Akashic Records is a whole separate thing. We can go down that rabbit hole if we want to.
Okay.
Um,
That's a whole other discussion.
it's
Yeah.
a whole fascinating discussion. I could talk to you guys all day about the Akashic Records. Anyway, so yeah, so I never set out to be a Reiki healer, but it was a useful and is a useful set of tools that I have picked up along the way.
So I'm somewhat familiar with the concept of Reiki. My mom did it before she retired. But I've never heard of it being done on objects like that. The pet and the plants thing didn't surprise me because they're living things, but when you do Reiki on a house, what is it you're actually trying what am I trying to say? Like aligning the energies of a house. What is that gonna is it just gonna make it like feel better inside kind of thing? Or
Less
is it
Yeah,
actually
yeah, kind
poltergeisty.
of.
I mean, could it actually help it stand stronger longer and things like that? Like
Oh, that's a good
what's
question.
actually what's the actual like application in action in
Yeah.
that?
Yeah,
Do
so a couple things come to mind to answer that question. One, houses are usually built with, well, always built with raw materials, right? And at some level, there's wood in those. And at one time, the wood was a living thing. So that has some kind of an energy field that way, right? So you're kind of rebalancing or recalibrating kind of the energy of the construction of the house. The other thing is that if you're buying a house that's been around for any length of time, people have already lived in there. And so it's almost like an energy clearing.
Like
Uh,
saging.
yeah, kind of, yeah. So you're kind of getting out the old stuff, kind of going
Mhm.
room to room, seeing what feels off,
Oh.
and kind of moving that through so that the owners don't experience strange things or
Hmm.
mm,
paranormal things or
Yeah. I've saged
okay.
pretty much every single house I've moved into. So,
yeah,
oh
yeah,
yeah. Then the whole like
yeah,
east, west, north, south. Like, yeah.
yeah.
We do weird stuff here up on this mountain.
We do awesome
It's
stuff on
fun.
this mountain.
We do awesome stuff on this mountain. My friends back east think I'm weird. I'm like,
Yeah,
hey, just
that's fair.
living the West life.
My friends back east thought I was weird before I moved here, so I just found the right place.
We're all in good company. So, okay, but like Reiki and I've had Reiki done on me actually not too long ago. Shelby, in fact,
Oh yeah, yeah.
did Reiki during the liquid breathwork session that I did with her and Ryan. not that long ago. So, can you kind of talk about what Reiki kind of feels like for somebody, or like what the in person maybe, just because that's probably more common?
Yeah, what it feels like for the person receiving Reiki.
Yeah, like what kind of
Yeah.
happens? Yeah.
Yeah, so in a very traditional sense, it doesn't have to go this way, but in a very traditional sense, they kind of lay on like what looks like a massage table. And then the healer kind of comes and doesn't really put hands on the person unless the person has consented to that and there's a need, but there's usually not a need. But the healer kind of opens the container, so to speak. We ask for the flow of Reiki to come through. And then the person receiving Reiki usually doesn't feel much. They're kind of just laying there. And in the moment, they might not feel anything. Usually, what's reported afterwards is like, oh, I feel lighter or I'm more energetic, or that nagging pain that I can't get rid of is gone all of a sudden. And sometimes in the session, you can feel things too. You'll feel like heat, or you'll feel tingling, or you might feel emotions come up and you might want to laugh for no reason or cry for no reason. I'm putting that in air quotes, right? So those are some of the experiences that the person receiving might feel, but more often than not, it's you don't notice it till after you kind of go back into the real world and things just feel a little different.
And had you received Reiki therapy prior to having the interest in that? And that's kind of what got you interested in it and your kind of general interest in the healing arts?
Yeah, I don't know what got me interested in the healing arts, honestly. I think I've just always been fascinated. I
Hmm.
kind of approach it a little bit like a scientist, like let me try this thing. If it sounds cool, it sounds interesting. Sometimes it sounds like bullshit, if I'm being honest, but let me try
Hmm.
it and just see what happens, right? And so Reiki was one of those things where the very first time I tried it, I was like, nah, I just paid a whole lot of money and I don't feel any different. The first time I tried it, I was in Sedona with,
Of
of
course.
course, of course, and the Reiki healer afterwards, you do a little bit of like a kind of post-game analysis type thing, right? Something very light and gentle. The Reiki healer afterwards looked so drained and she looked pale and she looked worn out.
Hmm.
And I didn't feel any different. And she was like, just mind blown that I didn't feel any different because she said that my adrenals were really taxed. And that's like, she was kind of reflecting that back to me and how she showed up at the end of the
Hmm.
session, just completely wiped out. Anyway, so that's a little funny story. And I was like, I don't feel any different. This didn't work. Just paid a whole lot of money.
It's tough
But I
being the
did it two
healer
or three more
sometimes.
times. And what's that?
It's tough being the healer sometimes.
Yeah, 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 I feel bad. Told her I'm sorry. Sorry for training you. Yeah, but
So
two or three more times after that, I did try it and felt nice changes.
it's an interesting overlap that the clinical psychology and the energy work. Um, it's kind of philosophically speaking, those two industries kind of clash a little bit, I would think. Is it hard to overlap those things? Do you bring them into each other on some level? And like, do you find people accepting of your other side in those two sides?
Yeah, it's that's a good question.
Because clinical psychology is so textbook and academic oriented,
Yeah,
and
it is.
does it accept the like does it accept the real nature of Reiki? Like, does it see that as a real thing, or does it just see it as the woo?
The
Like,
woo woo.
yeah,
Yeah, it depends. There's like multiple answers to that. Like obviously on an individual level, I think both coexist beautifully together, right? Not just Reiki, but clinical psychology and ancient any kind of ancient healing modality. They exist beautifully together, and I think they need each other. When we look at it from like the science community, they don't play well together. In
Mm.
general, that's a very general statement. I'm doing a
right,
lot of
right.
generalization there, right? But if you were to go to like a CBT, a cognitive behavioral therapist, who's very, if you align with that theoretical orientation, you're typically very evidence based. It's all about the empirical science, it's all about what is published in the Western journals, and that is the gold standard, right? If you go to one of those types of folks and you say, hey, I have this modality over here that can do a lot of great, really great work to somebody's energy field, no, you're gonna get stoned and
They're not
ridiculed out
buying
of that
it.
conference, right? Those two don't exist well. And so
Well,
that's to be said of most modalities within therapy.
and I
But
want
there
to
are
say too,
similarities.
Catherine, part of the reason we're having this chat with you is because you are going to do things different, right? Like you see an
Yeah.
opportunity to approach supporting people with mental health needing the support of a clinical psychologist in a different way. So
Yeah.
I'm building up to that. The why are we here? Reiki. So we've learned a little bit about Reiki, right? And so that's potentially maybe something you might infuse into your practice.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming you might. So we'll have
Mm-hmm.
to we'll dig into that a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, to do a psychoanalysis session or whatever it might be, and then follow it up with a little energy work at the end. It
Yeah,
sounds wonderful to me.
Yeah,
right.
well,
Why
I
does it
You
have
just
to
had
be
know,
this
like that
separate?
dream.
could help you process the emotions that you just brought up in your therapy session.
Exactly. Exactly. I just had this dream, this exact dream, what you just said, Jeremy. I had this dream last night of it's not our entire goal in therapy to have somebody have like this big cathartic emotional release. That's not the entire goal, but it's nice when it happens, right? And it's helpful to the work that we're doing. But so many times people have a big cathartic release and then they're just completely wiped out. And then we just send them on their way, right? When we talk about coming back to like Reiki and the energy fields, the 7 layers of energy fields, we just left somebody with a big gaping vulnerability that over time we hope we can help them heal in traditional psychology modalities. But if somebody's having this big release, or they're processing anger or whatever emotion that they're processing, like in the act of processing it, if an energy healer was also present in the room, or if the therapist was also an energy healer, and pulling out the funky energy out of somebody's energy field, it's like a 1 + 1 = 3. Like the level of healing and the level of uh, wholeness, maybe, that we send them back into the world with is night and day difference from what happens now in mainstream therapy.
Yeah, it could be exponential rather than just adding it up. It actually like, it's an
Yeah.
order of magnitude more healing
Yeah.
if when you start putting stuff together, right?
Yeah.
Because we've treated it so separately before, right? Like it's just here's the clinical stuff, right? Like here's the therapy,
Yeah.
the whatever, sit in the chair, pharmaceuticals, whatever it is that you need. And then, oh, and then here's all this woo-woo stuff over here, right?
Yeah, and the
And
two shall never like cross paths,
Never
right?
the
It's just
twain
it's
shall
just not.
meet.
Well, and it's because
so,
therapy is like built on the Western medical model, which
right.
treats like we go to a specialist if we're having problems with our ears that we can't solve with our GP, right? We go to a specialist for all kinds of separate things. There's not just one person who can see your entire system and the root
Hmm.
cause and heal it at that level. And so therapy
Yeah.
is much the same way.
Yeah. Like treating it in these kind of
Yeah,
siloed ways,
yeah.
but it doesn't have to be that way. And that's
It
why we're
doesn't have to
here.
be that way. Yeah,
That's
and I
why we're
also want to
here.
say that it's not bad because it is that way, right?
Right.
It's helpful for so many people,
Hmm.
so many people.
Right.
And I think it can leave a lot to be desired for also so many
Mm.
people,
Right.
right?
It's
And I
not for
think of,
everybody. Um,
yeah.
so there's Reiki, but then I want to talk about somatic breath work a little bit. So, um, you're a somatic breathwork practitioner, and similar to Reiki, this was a program or whatever you go through in order to
Hmm.
obtain that status and accreditation or how whatever the terminology is. And so, can you talk a little bit about what somatic breathwork is and what you do to deliver somatic breathwork as a practitioner? And then, kind of in the same vein as this whole Reiki thing, how somatic breathwork and clinical psychology can exist together. Because I think this is a good kind of build up
Yeah.
to get to the point of you're going into clinical psychology with a very different approach because you do believe both sides of these worlds can be working together in how
Yeah.
you care for your patients and future patients.
Yeah. So, oh, that's such a big question. And I also want to keep my answer so concise because yet another modality I could talk all day about.
Yeah.
But in
Sorry.
any given moment of any given day, we're all doing breath work, right? Just by virtue of breathing, we're doing breath work. Now, most of us typically breathe pretty shallow and in our chests, right? And that can be actually really activating for our nervous systems. So if you ever see somebody who's kind of starting to freak out about something, or they're on the verge of a panic attack, the breaths are up here in the chest, they're short, they're shallow, and they're rapid, right? Now we can leverage that to help bring up emotion and move emotion out of our body. Somatic breath work is all built on this basic premise that our soma, our body, has a memory in and of its own, separate from what our mind has, right? Separate from what our nerve, or maybe in tandem with what our nervous system has, but our body actually carries the memory of all of the stresses and the traumas and the unprocessed emotions that we've ever carried through our lifetime. So somatic breath work leverages the breath to move that out of our body, get it out of our system. And then there's a whole period after a breathwork session that's called integration, where we come and bring it back, bring ourselves, our body, our emotions, our nervous system kind of back into a new homeostasis, a more balanced homeostasis. So what a breathwork session looks like, a somatic breathwork session looks like, is they're usually about 90 minutes. The first kind of half of the session is spent really activating the nervous system with those like more shallow, rapid breaths. It's so uncomfortable. Every bone in your body and everything in your mind wants to tell you to stop. And it's that moment when you can just push through that whoo, shit opens up, right? So I've been in, obviously I've been in lots of breathwork sessions, both facilitating and as a receiver. And we call them expressions when emotions and things are coming out, right? So people express in lots of different ways. Sometimes it's laughter. People start laughing for no reason. It gets real fascinating when you're doing it in a group of people, because there might be someone over here in this corner of the room laughing their heads off. There might be somebody else in the corner of the other corner of the room banging their fists and processing so much anger. You might have someone on a mat behind you crying and processing grief. You might have someone on the mat next to you just uncontrollably shaking, and you don't know what that emotion is, but they're just letting it out of their system, right? So you have all these expressions. That's the whole point of somatic breath work, is to express it, get it out of your system. And then the other half of the session is spent in a much more, the breath changes. You go much more deeper into your belly, you slow it down, you kind of bring back the parasympathetic nervous system response. And then the cues are much more like integration, like reminding yourself of your divinity, your wholeness, that everything you need to heal is already within you. Just like really beautiful, really powerful messages to kind of bring back what you just released. Not bring it back into your system, but bring back the memory of who you really are. So
Yeah.
that's,
And
I get goosebumps when I talk about it because it's so powerful.
yes, and I haven't done somatic breath work. I've only did liquid breath work, which is Ryan's very
Yeah.
unique modality, which I told him he had to get trademarked like immediately.
Yes.
So I know it's not exactly the same. So more of like kind of a middle ground where somatic is more outward, right? Like the yelling, the shake, all that.
Yeah.
That's not always what somebody wants to be doing, right? Like that might not feel comfortable for someone.
Yeah.
But I can tell you from going through liquid breath work, so it's still that breathing, the meditative state that you get into. And I thought I would have the exact opposite experience because I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to like focus so hard on breathing. That like I won't be able to like chill out, right? Like I felt like, and it was quite the opposite. So is that similar like with somatic too? Because it does sound therapeutic, right? It's almost like
Yeah.
these rage sessions, right? That
Yeah. It
come up
really is
a
like a
lot
rage
recently
session.
on this show. I feel like we keep talking about needing to do rage circles, but
Rage is so present in the collective right now,
it
understandably
really
so.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I also have done Ryan and Shelby's liquid breathwork session, and I think the difference is I think both modalities are so beautiful. Ryan's and Shelby's and liquid breathwork feels more gentle.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it does allow for more of that meditative state.
Yeah.
That said, in somatic breathwork, I wouldn't call it a meditative state, but I have gone into altered state of consciousness. I've actually gone into a past life and felt a connection with
Oh.
somebody in this current life, and like so much was revealed to me in this past life, like snippet. It was like watching it on a movie screen where I just got to watch like one little clip of it. So much was revealed to me that I never could have accessed with my rational mind. I never could have accessed sitting there with a therapist. Like I
Mm.
would have sat there forever with a therapist trying to process or trying to figure out this one piece of the puzzle. And I did it in a breathwork session. So that's not everybody's experience, but the way you activate the breath definitely allows for the potential for an altered state of consciousness, just like a psychedelic or yeah, anything else, plant
Yeah, because
medicine.
I mean, meditative states literally change your brain chemistry and your functioning physiology and stuff in like real measurable ways.
They do,
So yeah, that
yeah.
makes sense that you could induce sort of a psychedelic experience in your mind without having to take any exterior substances.
Yeah,
We do have that capacity, yeah.
yeah.
That's wild. So, Reiki, somatic breath work, clinical psychology. Catherine, your goal is to be a PhD in clinical psychology, supporting people, your patients, in a different way because mental health in a mainstream approach doesn't work for everybody, right? Like, is that kind
Hmm.
of, would you say that's kind of your why is that you want to do it differently? And is it by incorporating these things? Can you talk about like what is your idea? Like what's your vision for how you're going to show up in this
Yeah,
space?
what you just said resonates like in my bones. It almost resonates in my DNA so much that, again, I think mainstream therapy is so helpful for so many folks and
Hmm.
for so many others. It does leave a lot to be desired. And in my own personal lived experience, I was one of those, right? Multiple times I've gone to therapy for things that I felt have been relatively minor, maybe a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of depression, a little bit of just like a big adjustment, a big change in life, and I wasn't sure how to navigate that myself. But every time I've gone to kind of a mainstream therapist, I'm using air quotes here. There's lots of different modalities of therapy, but CBT tends to be one of the more popular ones. Insurance loves CBT, and for that reason, it's pretty popular. But I remember my very first therapy experience, I had just left a job that had become my whole identity, and I willingly left this job to go start a new venture. But with that, I lost my identity, I lost my social circle, I lost like everything that validation, right? Like all these really big, really important things that I didn't know were wrapped up in this job. And the therapist said, okay, we've got to figure this out in 6 sessions, or maybe it was 8 sessions, because that's all insurance would pay for. If I had spent a longer time with this therapist, we would have been able to, I think, peel layers back of this onion that was so, had roots that went so much deeper than just this job change. And instead, we just talked about some stuff for 6 or 8 sessions, didn't really feel that resonance with the therapist, and left no better off, right? And just a really bad taste in my mouth about what therapy was. Fast forward, oh, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years, and I all of a sudden was starting to experience like a little more anxiety than I ever had before. Depression, where I never really had that in my family history or in my own history. And I decided to treat it alternatively because that's just what resonates with me. And instead of going to a therapist, I instead went to a naturopath. And through a series of tests over a number of years, we found out that the root cause was in a mold toxicity. It affects the nervous system, which affects the neurotransmitters, and it also affects my stress response system, my HPA axis. And there's a whole downstream effect. It turned on some autoimmune conditions for me that just magnified everything else, turned on a bunch of food sensitivity, like all this stuff just was happening. It felt like a waterfall, like just things were coming at me like crazy. But if I had sat with a therapist, I never would have like ultimately healed the root cause, which was an overactivated nervous system, overactivated limbic system specifically, but I have to get into those details.
Because
And
of the
so all of
mold.
these like it feels like a scavenger hunt or something where I'm just like picking up clues along the way that when the pandemic hit and the forced slowdown hit, I remember a specific weekend. I was sitting with my partner contemplating life because if I was being honest with myself, running a digital marketing agency wasn't like lighting my heart on fire anymore. And I felt really stuck because it was great money and I had cool clients and on paper everything looked amazing. Clients that were on Shark Tank and just like so many like outward symbols that I was on the right track. And the specific weekend, I was venting to my partner about how messed up the system is. And like, just it was a whole snowball that got rolling downhill. And like 3 hours later, I had literally sketched out on paper what therapy should look like. If we're going to treat the whole person and get to the root cause, we've got to treat the whole person. And here's what it should look like. Right. So I have that vision. I actually have it pinned up on my wall. And that was the whole point of getting on this journey, is to do it differently. And even as I say that, I feel a lot of like, like a lot of shit. Like, am I really going to do this? Because
you are. You're doing it.
Out, like,
I mean, it's
the woo and the science go like this. They butt heads, right? But that's part of what I think I'm here to fix.
The problem with the Western approach is everything is so specialized that you go to a therapist and they have a very specific way of giving you therapy that is only going to deal with certain problems from certain angle.
Yeah.
You know, and it is, you need to, you know, just working on your brain doesn't fix your emotions and, you know, the soulful stuff and the body stuff.
Yeah.
If you can build that approach and have the training and all the different modalities that you can fix someone as a whole, like, you know, the holistic approach to therapy needs to involve, you know, the body and the mind and the soul, in my opinion, you know. And a lot of clinical psychology is just the mind. Like, they don't want to deal with the rest of that. And they won't even admit that it's connected. You know, so
that's the truth.
Yeah.
I'm rolling my eyes for those who are just listening to this, but
this is so much more in my wheelhouse than the normal episode. I just realized I actually know what I'm talking about in this one.
You do?
At least a little bit. But I don't usually have that feeling on this podcast. I'm usually kind of lost. But yeah, I mean, I think it's great. In just the combination of these worlds, I think is a much needed overlap that has been grossly overlooked in the past. Yeah, I guess is what I'm getting at. So it's all the power to you, really, in my book.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to ask a question, but I was really just ranting.
You're just ranting. That's okay. It's good though. It makes sense. Do you think from the program that you're in, and this is all through NAU, right?
No, it's not through NAU.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's through Saybrook University. Okay. They're based out of California, but it's a really beautiful program for multiple reasons. One, it's really accommodates really nicely the people who are coming back to school with families, with whole careers, with the kids at home, right? It's so it's really accommodating for that. And also we talk a little bit about theoretical orientations, right? Cognitive behavioral therapy being one of those. It's a humanistically oriented program, which really values the lived experience of somebody over their thoughts, their behaviors, their emotions. I think it values emotions probably pretty equally too, right? So it's a massive departure from CBT, and it just resonates with me so much. And so in that humanistic orientation, there is a lot of encouragement and latitude for exploring this framework, this modality of therapy that I'm venturing out to create. So I've studied everything from breathwork or holotropic breathwork, which is created by Stan Groff, who's a mover and a shaker and kind of the grandfather of transpersonal psychology, which is where like Western meets kind of Eastern, or science meets woo. He's really pioneered that. So that kind of thing is encouraged. I just studied consciousness. Last summer, I went deep into the role that like our ancestral lineage has in the stuff that we face currently in our lifetime, and like how our unhealed ancestors kind of speak through our mental health manifestations. It's real fascinating. Wow. But if I were to go to like a traditional program, all that stuff would like I'd have to do all that stuff under the table, so to speak. I couldn't do it out in the daylight where I can.
Is that like a DNA memory kind of thing you're talking about, or what?
Yeah, it's that epigenetic kind of memory, right? There's been some fascinating studies by a researcher. What is her last name? Rachel Yehuda, looking at the descendants of Holocaust survivors and looking at the like stress response systems, different gene expressions, like all this fascinating stuff. And essentially, we can inherit our ancestors' trauma, epigenetically speaking. But I also looked at it from like, what the Eastern and Indigenous perspectives had to say, because I think that's just as important, if not more, than Western perspectives. Um, and there's a lot in the area of like a karma, I think, is a probably easy way to understand it. We can inherit our ancestors' karma, and it's our duty in this lifetime to heal that, or else it will be perpetuated, and we won't be able to kind of fulfill our full potential. Um, yeah, and on and on and on, but that's the gist of it. Yeah.
I was
So
going to
this goes
ask
back
you.
to the framework that
Oh,
I'm
yeah, good.
creating, right? Where like
Yeah.
traditional science is, or traditional therapy is only dealing with the mind, like we just talked about. But I think we have these multiple memory systems in our existence. I think our mind is one of them. Sometimes it's not a great record keeper, and sometimes it really is. I think our DNA and our physiology is another system of memory. When I say system of memory, like it remembers the stressful things and the trauma and the things that might seem so insignificant when we were 5 years old, but to our 5-year-old selves, it was a big deal. And so we might not even bring it up in therapy because it just seems so insignificant, right? But our body remembers, our physiology remembers. Our fascia are more of kind of like our muscle memory. Our energy field, I think, has a memory in and of itself. And then kind of this more like past life and ancestral memory. And I think that whatever we come into a therapist's office could have its roots in any one of those or all of those, as opposed to the perspective that traditional therapy has. This is just, well, let's talk about your childhood and what happened and what you can remember. I'm being very general in that statement too. There's lots of nuance there, but yeah, it's definitely a totally different way
I, I
of
was
looking.
I was literally going to ask you, like, do you feel like what you're doing is normal, like acceptable? Is it normal? Not normal meaning, like, is it outside kind of the regular course of study? But you've shared this school. You clearly chose it because it supports very much this kind of approach. So it seems, right? So that
Yeah.
was that kind of part of your decision too, is because what you're doing is different. It may not be mainstream, and it even sounds like you're developing even maybe something really unique and new.
Yeah. I
Does
don't
this
know
even exist,
anybody,
whatever you're doing?
when we talk about theoretical orientations, I don't know anybody that holds school, like researcher or clinician. When I talk about anybody, like I don't know any of those things that hold this as a theoretical orientation. In other words, an approach to therapy.
Hmm.
There's people that call themselves integrative and they might marry CBT with something like somatic experiencing or internal family systems or some of these more kind of popular right now modalities. And I guess that's integrative. But I want to bring the functional medicine doctor in with the therapist, in with the acupuncturist, in with the energy healer, maybe even the astrologist, because there's a lot in our astrology charts, and that's a science that has been around for like 3,000 years, if not longer,
Hmm.
that Western science doesn't accept because Western science didn't create it, but is there, and that doesn't negate the value of it. And also bring in maybe breathwork practitioners, right? All these modalities into this umbrella that's now called therapy. And so
Hmm.
somebody comes into this office, so to speak, they're wrapped around with all of these healers looking at their depression, let's say, from the 360-degree view and saying, oh, Catherine, that depression or that apathy or that overwhelm you've been experiencing, well, your vitamin D levels are low and your inflammation markers are off the chart. And yeah, you did go through some shit in childhood. Let's talk about that too. And let's also fortify your energy field. And let's look at what your soul's purpose is through astrology or through Akashic Records or something like that. And let's see how that all fits together. So now you're tackling this from multiple different angles,
Hmm.
hopefully in the same time that traditional therapy takes now, which sometimes can be 3, 4, 5, 10 years or longer even. But in a way that's, in my book, maybe more efficient or more effective, or it sticks. I think
Hmm.
that's one thing I hear about therapy is it sticks for a little while, but then the person kind of comes back around and experiences the same symptoms. Not always,
Mm.
but that is one of the criticisms.
Wow, that's, I
Yeah,
mean,
I'm sitting here thinking,
can I
okay,
can I
when
sign?
you start your practice, please let me know because that's the one I want to go to
Yeah,
right there.
totally.
That's so
I'm like,
encouraging to hear. I feel like I'm on
Yeah.
an island all alone sometimes
no,
doing this, which I'm on one hand
Oh,
I'm
people
okay
are gonna
with, but it's
flock
also
to
nice
that.
to hear the
People
I
will
validation.
flock to that.
I really do feel like, and I asked Ryan and Shelby this on, you know, our episode with them, and I want to ask you the same question. And I think, again, you're kind of, you become who you're around, who your friends are. And so, of course, I've been always open-minded to all these things, right? For a long time. And so then I end up hanging out with people and talking to people who are also into all of these things. But does it feel like more and more people that aren't in that bubble of being open to somatic breath work and Reiki and yoga and all the things that we've been we've been doing, as kind of normal, a sound therapy, right? Like the stuff that kind of
Mhm.
freaks people out because it's not Western medicine. Like, do you feel like it's growing in popularity, or not even popularity, let's say acceptance?
Yeah.
Do you think that's changing? I mean, we talk about ketamine therapy, even we did a pretty deep series on ketamine. Like that's kind of a newer concept, right? Psychedelics, the use of psilocybin. Like we haven't jumped into
Mhm.
that stuff. It just seems like it's everywhere. And I'm like, is it in my everywhere or is it in everybody's everywhere?
Yeah, I do
More
ask
and
myself
more.
the same question. Am I just in an echo chamber because that's what
Yeah.
my algorithms show me and
Right.
that's who my friends are and
Yeah.
that's what I talk to my colleagues in my program with. And
Hmm.
so answering your question with the acknowledgement that I could just be in an echo chamber, but also when I come out of that and kind of take a higher perspective, I do think these more alternative ways of healing are becoming more accepted. And
Hmm.
also I think part of that is that the type of science that us Westerners love, the empirically published in a medical journal, like validated by kind of the big schools and the big names, right? That type of science, which there's a whole other tangent about how oppressive that can be, but let me not go there. That type of science is now starting to come around to psychedelic assisted therapy and that, oh,
Hmm.
psychedelics and what we've called plant medicines and what shamanic cultures have called plant medicines forever. They're like, oh, yes, so let's now call it psychedelic assisted therapy and let's publish the efficacy of it. And now it's valid. Now it's legit.
Hmm.
Now it's accepted. Meanwhile, this shit's been happening for centuries,
You're like, this
right?
is not new. You're just
Yeah.
finally getting on the
We
wagon
didn't,
and
yeah,
saying, all right,
exactly.
Yeah, they've been doing
Exactly.
that in the
We didn't need
rainforest
your
for
all
thousands of
lab coats to
years.
tell us this was good and okay to do.
if we give it a clinical name, it's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
As long as we can take credit for it, it's
It's like,
fine.
let's
Yeah.
just call it what it is, right? I
Yeah.
mean, I've done I've been starting to explore some of the plant-based medicine. I'm a little apprehensive about it. I did my first cacao ceremony
Mm-hmm.
not that long ago. So it's kind of in that
Yeah.
plant-based
Yeah.
that was interesting. But yeah, I have some friends that are getting really into that stuff and friends who need it for PTSD, for healing
Mm-hmm.
from stroke, like real
Mm-hmm.
legitimate clinically diagnosed
Chronic headaches
issues.
Yeah.
can be healed with psilocybin.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
lot. We
You
yeah.
can break the cycle of headaches with it.
It'll be
Yeah.
interesting
I
to see what big pharma does with this because how can don't want to make money from this. So either they suppress it and quiet it down and it's just not a thing, or they somehow
yeah.
leverage it.
Or
So
does it become like recreational marijuana where it's not so much that the big pharma has their hands in it, but you have people who are making it a business. Like now we
yeah.
have dispensaries, right?
Yeah.
Does it become something like that? I don't know.
The real thing is, can they synthesize it? Because like cocaine's illegal, but Ritalin is synthesized cocaine, and meth is illegal, but Adderall is basically just synthesized meth.
Yeah. It's all
They
about control.
synthesize it and make it without the nasty side effects, but it's
Hmm.
the same thing.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
ketamine, right? A
So
good
if they can
example of it.
figure out how to
Yeah.
synthesize psilocybin, they will give us the synthetic stuff instead of the natural stuff, which won't work quite as well, but
Yeah.
but then they can actually like copyright it and make money off it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I
That's how
think
big
so much
pharma works.
remains to be seen as far
Hmm.
as how the big systems might leverage this and serve their selfish needs. But I also think that a lot remains to be seen in terms of um, I don't know. I'm hopeful that this psychedelic assisted therapy and the path, the trail that it's blazing opens up so much more acceptance for other alternative therapies also. Because they're
Hmm.
all kind of same, they all wear that same label of alternative therapies that science, Western science, hasn't yet empirically validated. But that's the
Yeah.
fact. That's the thing is it hasn't yet empirically validated it. So I'm
Hmm.
hopeful that it is blazing the trail for much more to come, much more
So
really helpful stuff to come.
Yeah, this is a really, I think we have like we've closed the loop on this. You're kind of like the next step, right? Like what you're developing, this approach to supporting patients through in a clinical psychologist role, along with these kind of other alternative healing methods. And
Hmm.
you're building something, right?
Hmm.
And we think maybe it's becoming more acceptable. And maybe by the time that you are Dr. Romero and you have your practice in 2026 or however, I think, right? Like 2 years until your
I
program.
wish. Yeah, it's gonna be maybe 2027, 2028.
Okay, well, 2027, that it will become so normal and you'll like everyone will be like, "Oh, this is just what we do now."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Would
hope
that
so.
be
I think
nice?
it's, I mean, you guys just validated that, but there's going to be this deep resonance with the people that this is for.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't pretend to be, I don't pretend to think that I can change the system from the inside out to go fight insurance and lobby at the political level and policy
Right.
and all that. I don't know. Like, I can't change it from the inside out. But if I put my business hat on and
Yeah.
look at it like a business, if
Yeah.
I get the consumers to come on board, the systems will change in response to
That's
that.
right.
It's supply and
Right.
demand, right? Let me create
That's
so
right.
much demand that the supply will have to be there.
We want this, right? Like
Yeah,
people,
Lead from the front and pull everyone along with you in the end. Yeah.
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, we're
yeah. I
we're
think,
screaming it from the mountaintops. This is how we want to be treated, right? Like this
yeah.
give the people what they want.
If you can
Well, and
talk, if you can get like a psychology therapy session and then immediately get some energy work done and do some breathing before you leave, like, why don't we do that already?
Right.
Like, to
yeah,
me, that just makes sense.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, right? Makes intuitive sense.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I think,
I love
again,
what
it's
you're
just,
doing there.
it's going to be for the people that this resonates for. And I think so many people are just looking for solutions and they
Mhm.
hit such a point of desperation because whatever they've tried hasn't worked that they're willing to try anything, right? And I think through that, this could be a powerful way to bring some healing.
I love it. Well, I think this is a really great note to end on. I want to ask you, I mean, I know you don't actually have a business that we can technically send anyone to, but you do provide Reiki and somatic breath work. Is that something that you promote for getting clients that you'd like to share? By all means, you
Yeah,
can.
I am creating my personal brand in this space and it's called the Healing My Shit Project.
Healing
So
my shit.
healingmyshitproject.com.
I love that. Does that
Yeah.
URL, like, does it exist? Like, can I
Uh-huh.
go?
Yeah. Yeah.
That is memorable.
Yeah, I'm updating the website right
I
now, so
love it.
you'll see some kind of
Um,
lorem ipsum
Heather goes
placeholder
right to
stuff
your
there.
website when you tell it to her.
this
It's
is
one of
what
the things
it
she
does.
does.
So
I love it.
we can we can send people to this
Yeah, I'll
Healing
have
My
it.
Shit project.
Yeah, I'll have it updated by the
That's a
time
good
this
project.
airs.
It's a
That's
good
the
project.
best thing ever. All right, cool. Well, we'll share that. And then in the meantime, just continue through your program. Good luck. Share all the good things. I get to see Catherine on a regular basis, and maybe I'll get some Reiki from you.
There you go.
Let's do it.
And there you go. Our conversation with Katherine Romero. Very cool stuff. That was definitely one of my favorites so far. Uh, I actually felt like I knew what I was talking about, which is a rarity for me on this podcast. But let's get to the main points first. What's our main takeaways there, Heather?
Honestly, I think the biggest thing is that we can have it both ways, right? We can have it both ways. We can have the clinical, the real clinical stuff, the
Hmm.
Western medicine, and then we can have the Eastern medicine. We can have the somatic breath work and the Reiki and the yoga and you know, all the things that aren't necessarily supported by or, from like a clinical perspective. What Catherine is basically looking to do is to support her patients in a way that you can have both of those things and they should both be there. It's not for everybody,
Should.
but we should
You
all
should
have
have the
options.
option. Exactly. The options should all exist together.
Like you and I were like, sign me up.
Yeah.
Like the idea of going and sitting in just like a therapist's office to me, I mean, I've certainly done it over the years. Um, it was helpful, but I really like the other parts. I want that to
Yeah.
be,
Like if you walked in and you did 10 minutes of meditation
hmm,
and then you talked for half an hour and then you did 15 minutes of breath and energy work.
yeah.
That to me sounds like a much more healing, efficient, useful process.
I want that option, right? Like personally, and
Yeah.
maybe a friend of mine doesn't.
We got to stop. Integration is huge, man. We got to start bringing things together. Eastern medicine and Western medicine, we need a global medicine.
Hmm.
We need to bring the best parts of all of it together
Yeah.
and make one good thing
Yeah.
that we can just all have and utilize for what it's worth. But we got to stop. Oh, well, Western medicine won't deal with the East and Eastern medicine won't deal with the West. And,
Yeah.
they're both doing good stuff.
They need each other. I mean,
And
I've benefited from both in very separate environments. And it just, to me, the evidence is there, right? Like
yeah.
we keep hearing these stories. I mean, I will go back even to the Shelby and Ryan episode where they talked about one of their, one of the folks that come to their breathwork classes went off their meds, right? Like now it may not
Mhm.
entirely be because of breathwork, but
Mhm.
it certainly is a factor.
And for some people, the combination might be you need the meds and the meditation.
Right. Exactly.
Either one of them by themselves isn't going to do it for you.
That's right.
Some people are going to need both,
Hmm.
which is that's the real reason you got to integrate this stuff
Yeah.
in my mind.
And I love the fact that even like the echo chamber that she talked about. Yeah, sometimes I think I'm in an echo chamber, but it does seem from her perspective and just a lot of other people that we've been meeting with and just my own. I think people are generally becoming more acceptable and open to alternative therapy, and
Oh,
that's
totally.
good. That's a big important shift in how we treat people.
Mhm.
And
And it comes
don't
from
be afraid of it.
it comes from necessity. They start trying to fix their problems and they try to go the traditional Western way. And it
Mhm.
doesn't really work for a lot of people. Some
Yeah.
people it does, but a lot of people it's not really going to get them where they want to be. And that's when they start going, okay, what else is there? What else can I try?
Mhm.
And you see things that, you know, a few years back, the person might never even have considered it as a possibility, but now they've reached a point where it's like, I'll try anything that might work.
Yeah, and you don't know what you don't know
And
until you try it,
right,
right?
it's like back to our first bonus episode in between episodes 4 and 5 with Lee,
Hmm.
the ketamine patient.
Yeah,
She heard about ketamine therapy and she was like, I don't do drugs.
right.
But she got to a point where it was like, I need something that works.
Hmm.
And she started hearing that it worked.
Yeah,
So she was like, all right, I'll try it.
yeah,
And it was what she needed.
yeah. So just
You got to keep your mind open to the
exactly.
possibilities and not just because someone has misused it in the past doesn't mean it's not going to be a useful thing if properly utilized.
Or if it feels too woo-woo, right? Or
Right.
weird or I don't know, funky
That's
or
just because
whatever
you
word
don't
you want to
know it.
use. Yeah, try it. Try it anyway. Just
Yeah.
try it. Trust me. I've tried a lot of it. It's great.
Right. Right.
Go get some Reiki, go do some breath work, go
Pasteurizing milk was weird at one point too.
yeah,
So
exactly. Go do
yeah.
Go do all the things, sit in somebody's chair, talk to them, take a pill if you need to take a pill, but try the other things too. So,
Right.
yeah, I'm excited for what she's building. So, I
I'm really looking forward to it. I wish her all the best. I'm hoping there's an office in Flagstaff we can go experience that whole thing. I've never been to a therapist. I go to concerts instead. But if there was a place that really did it that way, it might pique my curiosity
Oh
enough to
yeah,
like go do a couple sessions just to see what it feels like.
I think so too. I think you'd get a lot of people interested.
Yeah.
So, there you go.
People will flock to it.
There it is.
Well, cool. If you like that and want to hear when we come back around to this topic, we're going to be doing some really cool stuff with that. There may be a roundtable in the future with
Oh
all this
yeah.
stuff too. So make sure you hit the happy fun buttons, the likes and subscribes and whatnot, so that you make sure you don't miss a beat. The auto download is the best way to keep track of us. That way you always have our episodes in your queue when you go to find us. We are on all the major listening platforms. We have video on YouTube if you want to see what we actually look like. I have been cultivating this beard for quite some time. It's worth a look at some point, I think. Uh, where am I going, Heather? Why don't you talk now?
No,
I'm going to let you talk now.
it's time for a break.
I had too much fun with this one.
So you can find us online at healthcareuprising.com. And also, we're out on all the socials, just about Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Blue Sky, posting out there all the time. Anytime our episodes drop, we share our guests' posts and stories so you can keep up on some cool happenings in the healthcare space. Also, we're always looking for folks to bring on the show, whether it's part of for our human stories. So if you've had a good or a bad experience in a healthcare journey, we'd love to hear your story. If you're a founder, if you represent a startup or a company growing in the healthcare space, doing something innovative, reach out to us. We'd love to have you on. So you can contact us at healthcareuprising@gmail.com. On YouTube, too, if you didn't mention that. I don't remember if you said that, Jeremy.
I don't remember what I said. I'm pretty sure I said the YouTube. Oh, I didn't say Patreon, though. Patreon.com/healthcareuprising if you want to throw a little monetary support to the uprising here.
All the things. So, yeah, you can find us just about anywhere at this point. So that is your dose of healthcare uprising for this week. And with that, keep looking for the good in the world, because sometimes it's where you least expect it.
This has been a Shut Up production.